Claire and I have a bet for how many, like, so we have a how many people come to how many times the doorbells ring, total kids, and the last trick or treater we have. We all set numbers on that. And the winner, I don't know what the winner gets, but
The last time you did make a bet, especially considering our guest here today, didn't go well for you, Tanner.
there are still some slight repercussions from that. Not going to lie. I'm pretty sure it's from that. So, anyway. Well, for the first time ever, someone from Andy's room joining the show. Happy to welcome you into a Halloween special week 9 preview of Wilk and Wiss, your bi-weekly insight into athletes in the National Football League with Utah ties and the fans. As Utah, as you know, well know, big melting pot when it comes to NFL fandom. We got someone, Cole, coming in from D.C. or calling in from D.C. today.
Originally from Utah, from the
Yes.
same exact Utah that you were from.
Yes, that's because he's my brother.
Yeah.
Not going to make me eat any tortillas this week, which is good news. And by the way, before we do that, Cole, you've had this rule of trying to wear a different hat every episode.
I think I accomplished it this
You
week.
accomplished it this week without question. Very, very nice stoom, my dude. We welcome Braden Wilkinson to the program. He lives in D.C., grew up in Indianapolis, Colts fan, uh, may or may not have an opinion or two when it comes to parlays, things of that nature. Welcome to the program, Braden.
Thank you. Thank you. Always good to be back. Long time listener, second time guest.
Uh, well, normally when people ask what the vibes are in DC right now, around this time of year,
Right now.
that's probably a little controversial of a thing to ask. Not if you are talking football, not if you're talking about the Commanders, the Jaden Daniels emergence, the veterans that they brought in that have done a great job, and then Dan Quinn on top of it. What's the vibe, especially after the Hail Mary on Sunday around the greater DC area?
It's been really cool. It's been cool to see how it progressed. Like week one, they got blown out by Tampa Bay. Everyone's like, oh, here we go again. This is the same Commanders. Week two, they beat the Giants where they kicked 7 field goals, and still that's like a little more optimism, but people aren't ready to take them seriously.
And at the time, the Giants outplayed him pretty
Oh,
handedly.
yeah.
Yeah. That was more of a storyline. The Giants blew it than Washington's anywhere close to being here.
For sure. Yeah. And then they just flipped that switch against Cincinnati and haven't really looked back. They gave Baltimore a really good game. And then, of course, the Hail Mary. Like the next day, I was out in the community in Maryland, and everywhere I went, I'd see Commander shirts, Jaden Daniels jerseys. My wife's grandparents are lifelong Commanders fans. They used to have season tickets, and they're all in. I got a text after the Hail Mary that was like, hope you didn't hear us screaming after that." And really cool to see how I think it's well deserved. They've suffered long enough, and um, Jaden Daniels is electric, so it's been really fun.
I feel like you can lump Commander fans in with like Detroit, Buffalo, these teams that have some decent histories if you go back far enough.
Cleveland for a second.
Yeah, yeah. Cleveland for 1 week last week with Jameis. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see these franchises that, someone who's a fan of franchises that don't ever win, it's cool when you get to see your other guys win, other fan bases that suffer. You know what that suffering's like. You know what that is like. Now, a Steelers fan and a North Carolina basketball fan wouldn't get that, but
Yeah, imagine how boring it would be to have a World Series between the Yankees and Dodgers. Lame.
oh yeah. Anyway, wanted to get your thoughts on that. Where you grew up a Colts fan, I know you don't watch the Colts like you used to or follow quite like you used to, but these might be two of the biggest teams that made headlines on Sunday, given it was a wacky NFL Sunday. Anthony Richardson pulls himself from the game because he was tired. Joe Flacco is now the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Just some thoughts on that from just having repped Indy, having that have been your team over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I still follow for sure. I still follow a lot of people on Twitter who associate with the Colts, and it's really gloomy. They just feel so stuck. They thought AR might be the answer, but now I feel like they're committed to mediocrity. Almost like the Atlanta Hawks of the NFL is kind of how it feels right now. Um, Yeah, I mean Flacco has that connection with Josh Downs, so at least we got that going for us. But other than that, it's a pretty bleak time. I mean, Richardson could still be have some potential. I mean, you just never know, but the NFL has a huge development problem right now, and he is a casualty of that.
Mm.
Richardson was supposed to be the guy that breaks you out of the Rivers
Matt
to
Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Exactly how
100%.
Indianapolis, yeah, the post Luck era, just
Yeah.
bringing in whatever veteran you could. And now they brought in whatever veteran had a good season last year, Flacco for the Browns. And then, but it was still supposed to be Richardson. It wasn't this.
I mean, I traded for Josh Richards or Anthony Richardson in my dynasty league because I thought, oh, this
Yeah.
is it. This is going to be, yeah.
And
Um,
he still shows flashes. Like that one throw to Pierce, it's like one of the best throws the entire NFL season. He's just so inconsistent. And the money that the NFL needs, that these teams need, they're not willing to be patient with him. I personally would rather just ride it out with Anthony Richardson. So you either suck and get a great pick, or maybe there's something there, but it looks like they're committing to mediocrity.
That 4 year contract that you get whenever you're a first round pick, quarterbacks are at the point where they don't make it 4 years. Look at the 2021 guys coming into 2024 being just traded and offloaded for sixth and seventh round picks, the way that Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones all switched teams before their first contracts were even done because the teams didn't even give them the full 4 years of a contract to know. And also, to be fair, like we could tell with those three guys specifically, they weren't going to get a ton better. They were not going to be the franchise guys that you need whenever you're a top 10 pick. So go fishing for another top 10 pick.
or,
Or else you
or
end up in the bucket that the Dolphins or the Jags are, where you're paying a quarterback top five quarterback money to not be a top five quarter. So if they're going to make it to the second contract, they're going to start making too much. See, and Kyler's I think Kyler's a cut above where
he's
Trevor
been better.
Lawrence and Tua
Yes.
are.
Yes.
He had the injury problem last year, but I mean Daniel Jones didn't got too much money, right? We're looking for where that middle ground is, and it doesn't seem that middle ground exists for at least second contracts.
Yeah.
So what are teams to do?
It's a weird deal right now. Well, and you look at obviously baseball's had the best in development, right? The way they develop guys, that's always kind of been the crown of it. And look at where the NBA's got. The G League has exploded. I mean, the G League is an amazing tool. All 30 teams now have a G League affiliate that they're sending guys to. Two-way contracts have been such a great thing for the NBA. You look at Lou Dort's probably the best example of a two-way guy that, Braden roots for OKC, so we can attest to that. But we rule guys out too quickly in the
But
NFL. And
okay,
that's part of the beast
but
of football.
what we're talking about here, it's part of the beast of just being a quarterback, specific being a
That too.
franchise quarterback. When Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes win, 8 of the past 12 Super Bowls or whatever the number ends up being, you know that you have to have the best quarterback ever. And so it's not worth it for these teams that want to be the best to develop a quarterback, right? At NFL Europe, when it was happening, we weren't finding the next franchise quarterbacks there. We were finding role players like Lou Dort, right? But LeBron and the guys that can actually change your team
Right.
aren't the ones that are missing out on their development, right? Anthony, whatever the Cleveland Cavaliers 2013 first round pick,
Anthony Bennett.
Bennett. Yeah, not Edwards. That's the only name that could come to mind. He wasn't going to get better if you send him down to the G League, and then he would get better, but he wasn't going to be worthy of the top overall pick. So yeah, we have kind of a development issue, but you can tell with quarterbacks, with the one exception of Josh Allen, whether they're going to be the guy or not within a couple of years. So I get what the teams are doing.
Well, and then looking at it too, Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for almost a whole season.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson sat behind Flacco for at least half a season. I like that aspect of it, right? Like last year should have been Anthony Richardson sitting behind Gardner Minshew because I think the injuries from last year's also had a massive impact on just pure development and everything like that. So, well, before we get to picks, let's talk about some strategy making picks per se. Being a DC native, or not native, but resident now. Braden, you dabbled it with parlays a little bit. Parlays are fun, man. Like I personally, I say that as someone who's never actually placed a parlay before. But man, when you see what guys win off, I'm like, it's just hilarious and just fun to follow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If I'm being completely honest, I usually just use bonus bets that they give me in like a dollar or two here or there. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm a huge sports bettor, but no, I signed up for FanDuel and DraftKings and they each give you like 200 bucks to just play with for free. And no, they're really fun. Usually I hit like 5 out of 6 on my parlays and always come up one short with like Josh Jacobs not scoring a touchdown or Zay Flowers being 5 yards short or whatever it is. Um, but I did hit on one back in March and it got me like 450 bucks. So yeah, no, it's really fun.
You
Also,
can,
worth noting for our primarily Utah audience, because we talk so much around specifically the state of Utah, the player prop bets are the kind that are legal also in the state
yeah,
of Utah. There's not a lot of sports gambling that is in Utah or Hawaii. Those are kind of the two holdouts for any kind of sports betting, but fantasy style stuff. So when you download Underdog, they'll often give you all for your thing, and then you can tie together three or four. I don't think they call it a parlay because that means it's on the illegal side, but you can tie together essentially a parlay
yeah,
of, is Josh Jacobs going to get a touchdown? Is Josh Allen going to go over 200 whatever passing yards? That kind of stuff's legal for our audience too.
yeah, yeah. No, I know a guy who does a lot of NBA stuff with that, where it's like, will this guy score X amount of points tonight? Will this guy have X amount of assists? That kind of a thing. So it is part of it. So
Yeah, I wanted to get some expert advice here. I actually have a $36 bonus bet that expires tomorrow morning, and I'm going to do a three-leg parlay of Georgia football winning the Natty, OKC Thunder winning the NBA Finals, and I really want to do the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, but after that performance against the Browns, I'm having second thoughts. What do you guys think?
so I picked Baltimore to win the whole thing at the beginning of the
Preseason.
season. Yeah, that was my
Mm-hmm.
preseason Super Bowl champ pick. I still feel pretty good about it, even after last week. Cleveland underwent an emotional thing. It was very evident that they respect Jameis Winston a lot. Get this, we live in 2024 where Jameis Winston is more respected than Deshaun Watson. If you would have told me that in 2017, 2018, along with all the other crazy crap that's happened since then, like that would have just been the cherry on top of everything else the world's gone through. But um, I still am very high on Baltimore. That was a very Harbaugh loss. They lose games like that in the regular season. Now the question becomes, is Lamar going to be healthy enough? There's some injury questions there, at least for this week. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. How is that long term looking? And then there is the Lamar playoff question. That's the risk you take, right? Lamar hasn't done it before. I think the addition of Deontay Johnson was very good for them too. Perfect addition for them. That's just my opinion.
Something I've learned from keeping track of social media posts about other people's parlays is you want to have your most confident picks be the first ones to cash. So if you're waffling on the NFL champion, that's not good because the NFL is going to be one of the first of those things to actually determine. Right now, there's a guy that can cash out like a potential $1 million bet for a couple thousand, but he needs the Jets to win the Super Bowl for
Oh,
that
that's
million
the way
dollar
I
to hit.
think.
So he needs to cash out. Like once the Dodgers got theirs, he needs to get out of that because that Jets aren't going to hit there. And so as you're building it, you should go time wise, especially if you're doing champions. So yeah, Georgia national champion, love that. Um, you know, but then tie together the other ones you're really confident about and maybe throw your futures on the ones you're
And
worried.
I think OKC winning it all is a perfect one towards
That's
the
good.
end, right? Because at the NBA level, obviously OKC has been phenomenal to start, right? But you never know, someone gets hurt, um, and you just don't know. It's still too early in the full NBA season to really know what is going to go down in terms of 6 months from now, 8 months from now. So like that's a perfect one, in my opinion. But yeah, looking at the NFL side of things, that's interesting. So
It's tough. Yeah, the NFL is the hardest one because like I don't want to sell my soul for the Chiefs. I like the Lions
It's
and
not worth getting paid.
yeah, seriously. I like the Lions. They're probably my second choice, but still they haven't done it before either. I don't know. If the Ravens one hit, if those three hit, it'd be $8,000. So I don't
So
know.
Tanner picked the Ravens preseason. I picked the Lions preseason. I'm worried about the Lions ceiling with
yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson gone. Like
yeah,
he is such a big deal to that team. And so, yeah, they're still going to be maybe the one seed in the NFC and go into the playoffs, but winning a Super Bowl without that star edge rusher when their edge number 2 was probably the biggest question coming into the season even.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Here's the thing too. Looking back on, I picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl with my gut, but my head was telling me take Detroit. So again, gonna be fascinating. Well, let's get into some picks. Our guy Connor Henline, new leader in the clubhouse as of last week, got 13 games correct. So going to be tough to top that, but a $25 Visa gift card is still on the line, as well as you earn an automatic bid to return for a playoff show on Wilk and Wist. That's the second reward.
That's low stakes for Braden. A $25 Visa gift card after us talking about sports betting for the past 10 minutes.
If you knew how cheap this kid was, you would not be saying that. Although BYU did pay for his smash burger on Saturday. Got to give a shout out to the Cougs on that. Like that was a surprise that Central Florida was favored over BYU. Somehow, in some universe that we live in, the New York Jets are favored to beat the Houston Texans tonight. I get Stephon Diggs is out for the season. I get Nico Collins is still on IR. Do not care. It's CJ Stroud against the biggest mess in football right now that the Browns at least are temporarily moving on from Deshaun Watson. I'm taking the Texans.
I really was tempted to take the Jets even before I found out that that's the way the Vegas is going. Just because Houston has been underperforming so much and the Jets are due a win. They are not actually one of these bottom 5 teams in the NFL. They're going to end up right around that 500 mark. But also Houston's a dang good team. And that was my preseason AFC champion. And so I'm going to pick Houston.
Yeah, I know I said I don't really spend my own money when I'm betting, but this Houston plus 115 might be too good to pass up. I'm going to take the Texans.
Let's go. Dallas and Atlanta, 2 teams that are seemingly going in opposite directions, but I'm going to take the Cowboys for similar Jets reasons where I don't think that they are truly one of these awful teams. And so they have to start turning things around eventually. And I think Atlanta's more beatable right now.
You stole my thoughts. That was my exact same thoughts. The Cowboys have been much better on the road. Don't know what that's all about. Maybe they don't have to worry about tours on the road, right? Where they have to worry about tours at home, and the fact that Jerry Jones is the most egotistical human being that's maybe ever lived outside of a few other people. But I'm going to take Dallas as well on the road.
I had to recheck what time this game was being played, and after doing so, I'm going to take the Falcons.
Miami at Buffalo. A guest of ours from earlier in the season is going to be at this game. Our good friend Brant Stevens making the trek out, wants to see that Bills stadium before it gets torn down. Also going to go see the Pit, the new where the new stadium's being built. Even with Tua back, my gut says Miami should have won last week, right, against Arizona. With Tua back, they looked much better. My gut also says Buffalo has just owned Tua, especially in Buffalo. Josh Allen has owned Tua. So I'm going to take the Bills, and also kind of out of rooting interest, I'd hate for my buddy to fly all the way across the country and then for them not to win. So I'm going to take Buffalo.
Those are really good reasons. And looking at Buffalo's record against Tua, even when the Dolphins are firing, it's really hard to. But I'm going to take Miami, and this is the one I think I'm going to want the mulligan on by the end of the day.
I remember watching the last time they played, which is when Tua got the concussion, and he threw 3 picks before that concussion. So I'm gonna go with the Bills.
Yeah, you guys are right. Look, I have a slim lead right now in our overall season pick'em, and I'm willing to let that one ride a little bit on a little bit of confidence in Mike McDaniels. Come on, guys.
And that's the thing. We love Mike McDaniel. Colt, he is our favorite human in football right now. But yeah.
Who's your second favorite human? Macaulay Culkin is going as for Halloween, and it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the Raiders in our next game. And I'm going to take the fighting Joe Burrows.
Yeah, I'm taking Joe Burrow too, and the Bengals at home. The best tweet I maybe have seen all year today that I just have to read. So Adam Schefter tweets out, right? Macaulay Culkin dressed up as Joe Burrow for Halloween. Fantastic. We've seen the comparisons. Yeah, we expected this at some point, right? The tweet of the year. Macaulay actually defeated inferior opponents at his home, so I'm not buying it. Oh. And I retweet this and says, I am a huge Joe Burrow fan defender, but that's why we still have Twitter. That's why I still have a Twitter account. It's for moments like that. Unbelievable. But yeah, Cincinnati should have an easy win there.
Yeah, getting back to my betting habits, FanDuel actually does this thing called the Daily Shuffle, where every day they give you a different piece to add to your parlay. And Monday, I got the Bengals over the Raiders, so I'm gonna rock with that.
Chargers in Cleveland. Chargers 1.5 point favorite on the road. I'm riding with Jameis, man. There was just a different vibe about the Browns last week, and this is going to be the identity of the Chargers this season. You just don't know exactly what receivers are going to show up. We know the run game is going to show up. We know their defense is going to be at least bend but not break level type defense. But given Cleveland's defense still hasn't been just abysmal, I'm going to take the Browns with Jameis.
Yeah, and the Cleveland Browns defense is playing much better now that they have a reason to play and they don't know that every single game is going to come down to them making every single play, which when Deshaun Watson was your quarterback, that's where they were sitting. And so I'm going to take Cleveland.
Yeah, big Jameis guy. Always love Jameis. He's hilarious. Want him to keep succeeding. Go Browns.
The game of the WEAK, the worst game on the slate. It is the Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans. I guess I'll take the Patriots as long as Drake May is back and healthy and okay.
I feel like this is kind of like the Titans are like what the Patriots were a week ago, just kind of due for a win. Even though that stunned me that they beat the Jets. And normally that kind of momentum I would take New England. I'm just going to go with Tennessee. Again, just whatever. I'm going Tennessee.
I refuse to pick against Drake, so I'm gonna go with the Pats. It still feels really weird cheering for the Patriots. Not quite used to it yet, but anything for Drake, so go Pats.
You hated the Patriots when you were in elementary school. I mean, hated the Patriots. Oof.
But also,
Washington.
we talked a lot about gambling. Please do not gamble on this game. This is the most random game of all. They have a hotline for things like that if you want to put your money on the Patriots and the Titans.
This is why the hotline exists, is because of games like this. Yeah. Washington at New York, two teams that are very much heading in different directions. I'm taking the Commanders, man. I just think the momentum from last week carries over, and Daniel Jones continues to be Daniel Jones. He is who we thought he was.
I will also take Washington. I think that both teams have established themselves a little bit more than that first Washington game that we talked about, and so this one's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I'll be watching the game with some diehard Commanders fans, so no chance I'm picking Daniel Jones.
You pick a Carolina quarterback the pick before, pick against a Duke quarterback the next week. Very, very on brand there.
That one makes sense. Another divisional matchup. This time, two teams again at kind of the bottom of the standings. You have the injured New Orleans Saints the way that they are, and then the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking the Saints because I think from this point on, I'm just not going to take the Panthers. I tried to stab at the one win last week. I totally missed, and it's just not worth it. It's going to be, I'm going to pick for the Chiefs for the rest of the season and against the Panthers for the rest of the season. And when they inevitably win or lose one or two, that's fine. I'm just locking it in.
Yeah, I'm going Saints too. I know there's a chance Derek Carr plays this week, or at least a better chance that he plays. That again, the Panthers are so bad. Derek Carr, Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, Taysom Hill, doesn't matter who the Saints line up at quarterback. Like, this should be a win for New Orleans.
I think I'm going to take the stab. I never thought I would pick the Panthers, but the Saints have just been gross to watch the last few weeks, and it's just, yeah, this is a nasty matchup, but I'll roll with Bryce Young and the Panthers. Is it Bryce Young starting this week?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Denver is in Baltimore. The Broncos and Ravens have the same record at 5-3. Denver's played kind of a softer-ish schedule the last couple of weeks, and they've taken advantage of that. Give a lot of credit to Sean Payton for being able to take advantage and get wins, but I think whether Lamar Jackson plays or not in this game is a little bit irrelevant. Bo Nix was the offensive rookie of the month. November is going to be a rough start for him this week. I take Baltimore.
I also go Baltimore.
Yeah, I might have a lot riding on Baltimore, so I'm going to pick them every week here on out.
Chicago and Arizona, two games that came down to the wire last week, and these two teams had different results by the end of it. I'm going to take Chicago again here. It's similar to my rationale for why I picked Chicago over Washington, and that came so close to happening. they just have the better defense, and going up against such a weak defense on the other side, I think Caleb Williams can start to get some momentum. It took him a whole half and three quarters ish of football before he started playing last week. Maybe he can get going a little bit faster against Arizona's. And so Chicago.
Arizona's defense has definitely overachieved at times this year. But there's moments, right, where they don't show up. There's moments, especially on the defensive line. Caleb has a chance to actually have some time in this game, and that should be a scary thing if you're a Cardinals fan. We've somehow won these last couple games. We've won 3 of our last 4, right? With the Niner somehow beating the Niners, beating the Chargers, and then somehow coming back and beating Miami. At some point, that luck's going to run out. I'm also taking Chicago, although it was fun to be in first place in the division there for a couple of days. So go Cards, but I'm taking the Bears to be realistic.
Yeah, I hate to follow the trend, but I see a Caleb Williams revenge game coming here soon, so I'll go with the Bears as well.
Let's skip down a couple. I know it's not in order, but the other two teams. So San Francisco's on bye, also kind of tied right now
Yeah.
in the division. And then the Rams play the Seattle Seahawks. I'm picking the Rams here. And so if all of that goes according to plan, then the 49ers, by way of not playing football, just got themselves into first place in this NFC West.
Oh, that's gross. I'm going to take Seattle in that one. Just simply, I know the Puka and Cup are back, and the Rams had some real momentum. I mean, just amazing what happens when you get healthy sometimes in the NFL. And Seattle has just not quite there. But I think it's a divisional game. This has been a wild NFC West season already, so I'm going to take Seattle in a very close game.
And when you're trying to get healthier, the best thing for you is to get a couple extra days to rest, which the Rams had coming off of a Thursday night game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams. I'm excited they've finally got the receivers back. Puka has been on my bench in fantasy all season, and it's good to get him back in the lineup this week. So I'll go with the Rams.
Jacksonville in Philadelphia. Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite at home. The Eagles they're not getting a lot of love at 5-2, which is wild. Now I get they're beating teams they should beat, but still, I'm going to take Philly. The Doug Peterson revenge game is not happening here. Even though Jacksonville's looked a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, it's got to be Philly.
I am taking Jacksonville.
Yes,
because Philadelphia is going to drop a couple of these that they mathematically shouldn't, but that's because they're not totally that complete team. And especially you get into that anything could happen mentality. And as long as it's close through the first couple quarters and Philadelphia doesn't score in the first quarter, so Jacksonville has a chance to be hanging around later on. And that's all you need when you're a big underdog. I think Jacksonville has a chance.
The phrase Doug Peterson revenge game almost got me to flip, but I'm going to stick with the Eagles.
You love a good Doug. Detroit's in Green Bay. This is a fascinating one. Is Jordan Love going to play? Is he not? I'm taking the Lions either way. At some point, that Aiden Hutchinson injury is going to catch up with them. And this could be it. I mean, this very well could be the game, but there's just something about this Detroit team, the way Dan Campbell gets them prepared and the emotional stability of the team. I like that a lot. And Green Bay's got a lot of that too. I mean, give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit. I'm surprised it's this heavy for Detroit at 3.5, but I'm still going to go with the Lions on the road.
I think that's the possibility of Malik getting the start. Like there was still very question marks on Jordan Love. And so I'm plugging in Green Bay, but with the caveat as if it is going to be Malik Willis, I would like to flip it, please. But at Green Bay, these are two really well-matched teams at the top of the NFC. You know, they're going to split, and Detroit isn't going to just waltz to the number 1 seed winning out. So they'll drop a couple, but I'm still confident in their long-term approach. But like you said, losing Aiden Hutchinson going to come back to haunt you at some point.
I'm with Cole on this one. First of all, I really like the over here at 47, 48.5, whatever it's set at, given the way the Lions offense has played recently. And I'm going to go with the Packers as well. Lambeau's a tough place.
All right, Braden, your Colts kind of going up against the Minnesota Vikings, who are on a 2-game skid after starting off undefeated. I'm going to take Minnesota to circle the wagons here and get back on track.
Yeah, I don't see Minnesota losing 2 in a row. And Braden, what was the only other NFL jersey you had as a kid besides Colts jerseys?
That Adrian Peterson, classic. Yeah. He's my Madden go-to. Madden 08.
Rookie Adrian Peterson on Madden 08.
That's as good as it gets. But I'm gonna take the Colts. This is a really weird game they chose for Sunday Night Football, but Flacco is elite, and I love the Josh Downs connection, so I'm gonna go with the Colts.
And finally, prime time, Kansas City at home against doesn't matter. I will be taking the Chiefs, but they do play Tampa Bay.
I will never be a bigger Baker Mayfield fan than I will be on Monday night. You can count that on that. But I'm taking Kansas City. But nothing would bring me more joy on this planet up until next Saturday than seeing Tampa Bay beat Kansas City.
They've got to lose eventually, right? I love Baker. I think he's so fun. I'm glad the way he hasn't let the haters take him down. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Election Day is next Tuesday, Tanner. What's next Saturday? Fill me in.
Well, I don't want to speak too much to it. I just want to get to the game. I'll leave it at that at this point. I'm not saying much. I'm not saying much leading up to it, folks. People are going to try and get it out of me. I'm keeping my mouth shut until after the game. So,
I mean, do we make a pick right here?
Not 10 days out.
Okay.
Not 10 days out.
We got a couple more shows.
Yeah.
I will get it out of you.
I will say, looking back at BYU's and the way I've picked every week, picked them to win week 1, had them losing week 2, winning week 3, losing week 4 and week 5, had them winning games 6, 7, and 8. So we'll leave it at that when I've gone through and looked at it. So, well, Braid, appreciate you hopping on with us. Always good to chat and some good content for our listeners who maybe like to dabble in the world of parlays and in some of those things. So appreciate you hopping on with us. Enjoy watching the Manders on Sunday with some of your new family out that way. Tell Tootsie and Pop go Commanders. As I would pay good money to watch a Commanders game with Tootsie. But yeah, man, enjoy your weekend. Appreciate you hopping on with us.
Thank you. And if I do select that Ravens pick and it hits, I will be covering next year's Visa gift card winner for Wilk and Whip.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks.
We'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. And I'm not saying I feel like it's more likely the Ravens win the Super Bowl than you actually cover for something like that. But there you go. Cole, my man, have a happy Halloween. By the way,
happy Halloween.
What's are you guys, is it a whole Toy Story theme with you guys? I meant to ask that at the beginning of the show.
There will be pictures of a tiny 1-year-old Buzz Lightyear on social media at the end of tonight. But yeah, you got Woody and Jessie will be my wife, and then little Oliver he's got a little Buzz Lightyear.
That's amazing. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy the magic of having a kid around Halloween. So
thanks.
This has been Wilk and Wiss, your bi-weekly update on Utah athletes in the National Football League, as well as the fans. We'd like to highlight you, the fans, wherever you might be in the world. If you want to reach out to us and be a guest on the show, we're certainly not opposed to that. You don't have to be a Utah resident or even ever have been a Utah resident. As long as you got some connection to the state, we're happy to have you on. For Braden Wilkinson and Cole Wissinger, I'm Tanner Wilkinson. Once again, you've been tuned in to Wilk and Wiss.